You've probably heard of the term locking in. It's a pretty big term nowadays, and more recently I've noticed on, TikTok, Instagram, and social media that people are telling you to lock in. I've noticed YouTubers are posting more videos on how to lock in, how to focus, right? It's kind of weird. Why are there so many YouTubers posting about this? And I'm gonna dive into that today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope everyone is having a great day. If not, this video might just turn your day around. Today's topic is going to be about the great locking in. So, as you may know, locking in it can be many definitions. It can be you deciding to do your homework, or maybe you deciding to get a task done that you've been putting off, or maybe it's you throwing your phone onto your bed and getting work done and not looking at TikTok, Instagram, or any social media, right? Logging in can be used for a bunch of different, I guess, things, right? So I've been doing some research on locking in, and there's a lot of kind of ideas flown out there to help you, right? There's time blocking, there is having a routine, having you focus for 15 minutes and a 20-minute break, another 15 minutes and a 20-minute break. It's called the word starts with the P. I don't know how to pronounce it, but um, I forget the word. But anyways, time blocking. Let's dive into this a little more. Now, I think time blocking is good, but I don't think where it becomes bad is if that you make every little micro decision through time blocking, right? You time block your day down to the very second. I think that's kind of overdoing it in a sense. I feel like time blocking still should be rigid, but it should be loose enough to where if you need to add a couple minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you can. Because I've noticed a lot of people on the internet are time blocking, and they're time blocking like 12 hours of studying. And if that works for you, that's great. But to me, I see time blocking as a task management strategy, first of all, but also a way of this, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on this. After that, I'm going to reward myself for doing that work with maybe YouTube or a couple minutes of scrolling. Now, to me, it kind of seems like dopamine management, right? So I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say, dopamine management. But if you think about it, you're doing, let's say you have to read, I don't know, X amount of pages, right? Well, you read for 30 minutes and then you spend 10 minutes on maybe scrolling or doing something you want to do. So that to me, when you start scrolling, you get that dopamine rush, obviously. But when you're doing the task, you're not getting the dopamine. Maybe you are if you enjoy it, but you're just not getting the dopamine right away. You're kind of dopamine managing, or in some cases, dopamine maxing because you get a bigger dopamine hit. Anyways, this video is not about dopamine. That's a whole nother topic for a different day. But I see a kind of a problem throughout the time blocking, to the very second is that micro decision making. You're worrying about should I do this first? Should I do my reading first? Should I do my math first? Now, obviously, it depends on how important. Uh, when you're time blocking stuff out, obviously do the most important stuff first. I would say do the most hard stuff first because it's kind of you get the hard stuff out of the way, then it's just easy, right? That's kind of my thought process. Maybe you're the other way around. Maybe you want to build up. Do the easy stuff first, then do the hardest thing last. It's all personal preference. That's just my personal preference. And so I see a lot of these YouTubers and TikTokers micromanage down to the very like second, and they're micromanaging every little decision. Now I think that is kind of that's a maze, right? Micromanaging or micro decision making, that's kind of a maze. And I'd say don't fall down that trap. Don't go down that maze because I've been down there before, and the more you worry about stuff, the more stuff you're not going to get done. Okay? So just time block stuff out, but don't worry about if it's going to be good or not. If just show up. That's the moral of the story. Just show up and do it. I've been saying that for pretty much every single one of my videos, but just show up and do it. Now, one thing I've noticed throughout my research and my scrolling is these people having a routine. Maybe it's an athlete or maybe it's a professional TikToker or whatever. They always have a routine. And I've looked at my life and I've noticed I've always had a routine. And I've always kind of, when I accomplish it, it brings me dopamine. For example, I always have eggs in the morning. Now, eggs are pretty good. I like eggs. I've been doing the same routine for the past 2 years. Never got bored of it. But I always, I eat eggs and then go for a 20-minute walk. After that, I feel good. Obviously, I haven't been doing that 20-minute walk because it is indeed winter and it is very cold outside. But I've noticed that I think having a routine is good. But I think where, people say having a routine is bad because, there's obviously an argument for saying, well, I don't have a routine, um, and routines can be bad for you. I think it only gets bad is if you, again, micromanage every little decision in that routine. You gotta set enough, you gotta set off to the side the human error or the human aspect of having a routine. Obviously, every routine is not going to be the same every day. It's going to be a little bit different. Maybe I overcooked my eggs. Maybe I only went for a 19-minute walk, right? Maybe we should just start thinking about routines as just start it. If you don't finish it, maybe just do it for a couple minutes. Do a 5-minute walk. Just go for a walk or something in general, right? Maybe eat eggs. Doesn't say the specifics. I would say if you're starting off with a routine, don't worry about the specifics in the beginning. Just show up. And I've said that before. Just show up. It's because as you start showing up and you keep doing it consistently, you're going to realize that, man, I wish I can do it this way, or man, I wish I can do it that way. And obviously, that can be applied to almost everything, pretty much everything in this life. Is if you know, once you start showing up, let's say you got a new job, for the first maybe month or a couple weeks, it's going to feel pretty new. Everything's going to be new around you. Then after that, you're going to see inefficiencies. You're going to see things that you can improve on. Maybe it's leaving earlier to get there earlier, or maybe it's leaving later to get there on time, right? Little stuff. So that's why people say just start, because once you get in that process and once you start that thing, you start to realize that, man, I can, there's so many little things I can work on. There's so many little things I can, you know, do for myself. There's so many little things I can expand on, improve on, and so on and so on. So another thing I wanted to bring up was work. So obviously work-life balance, but then work and reward balance. Um, I think that is a big thing in preventing you from burning out. Um, but I think it needs kind of to be approached in a good way, to have a good reward, right? Obviously, I'm bringing back my reading analogy. When you read for 30 minutes, you can go on your phone for 10 or 5 minutes. That's a good reward. But what happens when you start getting to bigger tasks, right? Like big projects, maybe a research paper, maybe you're making a documentary. Well, then I think the reward should go up as well. I think, you should, do enough, work and have small rewards and realize, man, I need a bigger reward. So then up that reward, right? Because having a goal is all great. You get that goal done. And yes, you feel sense of accomplishment. But after a while, it kind of fades away. I would say pretty quick for me sometimes. But if it's a big goal, then wow, you know, yeah, probably going to stay there for a while. That sense of accomplishment, that feeling of accomplishment. So I also say that once you complete that big goal, it can be anything. You're going to feel that sense of accomplishment, then also have a reward for yourself. Maybe that's a vacation. Maybe that's not doing your work for a week. Don't make it crazy, but just make it to where it suits the goal, right? Maybe let's say once I complete this hike, I can finally have my breakfast, right? If I do my fasted cardio, I can finally have my breakfast after that, right? That's a good reward. Or maybe after I read for an hour, maybe I can go watch YouTube for 30 minutes, right? Or let's say, think a big project here. Maybe if I get my big work project done, that's like compiling information and stuff then maybe you can go take a vacation. But that's just an example. I want you, next time you do or finish a goal or finish a project, just think of something that you can reward yourself with. All right. So what can you take away from this video? Well, try to form your own opinion about this topic. Go out and research time blocking strategies or routines that you can do in the morning and just start it. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But just, stay consistent for a week or two. Because after a while, you notice little inefficiencies and little things that can be improved upon. Just start. That's the moral of the story from pretty much this whole video is just start. It doesn't matter how big or small you start or what task you do. If you want to make your bed in the morning, that is a pretty small task. You can do that. Maybe if you want to drink a glass of water in the morning, you can do that. It's a small task. Don't cut yourself short of the task. And what I mean by that is don't think by having a small task that it's cringe or that it's not big enough. Don't worry about that. All it matters is you started, and you should be happy that you started. I've been thinking about this recently, and it's what would your future self be happy with if like what you did today? Like, what would your future self be proud of what you did Today, think about that. All right. I hope every single one of you has a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I hope every single one of you can find peace in your lifetime.